Hi, my name is Rupan Son. I am currently a freshman attending a boarding high school in the US. For the past few years, I've really dwelled myself into the complexities of history, the facets of humankind, the tangling balance between truth and lies, but especially the impact of religion on society. This summer, I studied politics, philosophy, economics, and law. For this research project, I selected the John Scopes monkey trial of 1925. I've decided to land on this topic due to its novelty in the field of American politics and judicial proceedings. Never before had such a simple trial covered the ultimate conflict between what many believe to be religion and science itself. Though superficially a small district trial in the conservative town of Dayton, Tennessee, the procession itself embodies the conflict in the American spirit during the soaring 1920s, a time of changing social structures and ideologies. My professor was very helpful in my selection of this trial, by meticulously explaining the intricacies of these clashing concepts and their role in shaping the history of the United States and Europe.
My research process began with the analysis of legal and moral complexities that surrounded this trial. I soon learned of the difference in the framing of the trial and its actual charges. By law, Eureka County accused public high school biology teacher John Scopes guilty of violating the newly instated Butler Act, calling for a ban on the preach of any theory that quote-unquote denies the story of divine creation of man as taught in the Bible, and quote-unquote teaches instead that man has descended from a lower order of animals. Without further investigation, the ban appeared to be implemented on the proliferating popularity in teaching of evolution in public schools of the South, which was characterized by its rural and highly Christian background. My legal analysis revolved around the immediate background to the trial, however. Due to the newly born American Civil Liberties Union's efforts to raise awareness on the limit of teachers' rights in the U.S., John Scopes actually agreed to be prosecuted by a law that was otherwise barely implemented. The outset of this background was to lose in the trial in Dayton, so acquittal could be pleaded to the Tennessee Supreme Court. On the other hand, I learned that the prosecution did not have a significant goal in the guilt of Scopes, as he was not of immediate danger to Eureka County. Ultimately, the trial was to gain attention over any criminal importance. Due to factors explained above, this trial was ultimately framed around the two concepts of religion versus science. In my legal analysis, I explained the prosecution's denigration of social Darwinism and the defense's concession of Scopes' guilt, instead focusing on the constitutionality of the Butler Act itself. In reality, the Butler Act wasn't even remotely about the expansion of evolution, instead only to plead against the usage of progressive textbooks in the rural southern schools. The judicial validity and orthodoxy of the legal procession is for personal judgment. However, the legal analysis is barely representative of the American social picture in the 1920s. For most, this question is a question of black and white, of evil and morality. With Professor's help, I was able to reach the biggest realization of this research process, that being the complexity of morality in the trial about both what the prosecution and the defense stands for. There is no denying the wrong within prosecution turning William Jennings Bryan's ideology with limiting teachers' rights. At the same time, the concept of applying Darwinist ideas on humans, known as social Darwinism, was highly popular in the United States and Europe. Social Darwinism, perceived in A Civic Biology, the textbook that was used by Scopes, was essentially to remove those with worse birth status or eugenics. A Civil Biology argued that the solution for those with bad eugenics was to simply exterminate them for the quote-unquote betterment of the race, despite humanity's obvious repugnance to such actions. I eventually learned that social Darwinism was partially responsible for some of the worst massacres in history, namely the Nuremberg Laws, the Lebensborn program, but most infamously the Holocaust. It is important, I believe, to fully understand the impacts that social Darwinism eventually caused before making a judgment on the morality of the subject in high school classrooms. Through my discoveries, I had reached a plethora of problems. First and foremost were my personal moral troubles. I tried to understand the popularity of social Darwinism, yet had simply failed. I was standing from the specific moral angle of the status quo that was significantly different from early 20th century Americans. The ultimate solution is regrettable at best. By the end of the day, this paper is focused on my ideas and morals. Therefore, I had to condemn social Darwinism from my standpoint in the year 2023. This problem actually allowed me to get a great takeaway from the research project, that being the acknowledgement of historical and present moral standpoints in any scenario. Sometime in the future, our present morals will be condemned for its many problems that we may not even notice living in the status quo. By the end, I will by no means place my personal morals as of utmost quality and humanity. Another problem was my lacking ability to analyze sources past their conclusions. Many of the papers that I researched included the same materials yet reached drastically different results in the end. To create a solution for this problem, professors helped me critically analyze some sources. However, I still need to improve my ability to seriously think about the sources I am given without simply believing in the author's conclusions. Now, with knowledge about the subject, I would like to expand my scope to the religious structure of the United States through the 1920s. I'd been greatly impressed by the number of complexities surrounding the conflict of South and North, a conflict that affects many daily lives in the status quo. It would be my dream to glean some, even a little, universal truth about religion from this process.